We're back here on the program Jones and Company, speaking with the Minister of Foreign Affairs and Immigration, Fred Mitchell, today. And Minister, we talked earlier about the perception of a phobia in the Bahamas. But there is also a view held by some people at the College of the Bahamas, one or two of the professors at the College of the Bahamas, that the Bahamas is underpopulated. And we should seek to assimilate people in a smooth way in the country. And that the policies that you are enforcing do not seek to do that.
However people come here, they have to be documented. That's it. I mean, whether we have masses of people come or few people come, whether they come from the south or whether they come from the north, they have to come through the front door and they have to be documented. And a society that needs to assimilate people have to assimilate them in a documented fashion. You just can't have a situation where people just come in and swamp the society. I just got a call from people in Elbow Key, and we're planning a major operation up in Abaco. And this is going to be fascinating because we've been talking about this now for almost 2 months, and near the end of when the operation is actually going to take place. And I say fascinating because the same way, I just looked at some of the things we've been talking about, the changes and the thing about passports and so on and so forth since the summer of last year. As a matter of fact, the year before that in the budget debate. And everybody says, oh, this is such a great surprise. And why do you want to do this immediately, so on and so forth, right? So, plenty of warning, went up to Abaco, had the community meetings in Cooperstown with the community leaders, in Marsh Harbor, in Hopetown, and in Sandy Point. So, broad cross-section of Abaco, because Abaco is considered by migrants these days to be the soft underbelly, even though it's on the top of the country. So, because the center of the country is fairly blocked up by the Defense Force, they've been taking this ocean route and coming up to Abaco. So, man calls me, says, look, Elbow Key is swamped and you need to do something. And I said to him, well, we are going to do something, except that these operations, when you're talking about any large-scale operation, it costs money to do it, it costs resources, it costs equipment, it takes logistics before you can move. And then that in this era of public affairs, you have to be concerned that you act in a balanced fashion so that you don't appear to be inhumane in any way. And you have a tourist economy. Reputation is everything for the Bahamas. So all of those factors have to go into account. So on the 20th of this month, there's going to be a staging meeting with all of the government agencies that will be involved in this, because it's going to be multi-agency. It's probably going to be a 7 to 14 day operation up there with a real genuine attempt to restore law and order on this issue in Abaco, because there's the impression being given up there that it's just open season and you just go and do what you want. And we were very concerned last year when I went up there and some of the government officials said they had attempted to, for example, to remove some of the shacks the Ministry of Works went in, and they had to withdraw because there was physical resistance by the people living in there. I mean, you can't have that. You just can't have it. And so law and order's got to be restored. And so fine, those who are engaged in the business of social commentary and education can make those kinds of statements. Dr. Bernard Nodge, the National Security Minister, and I talk about this all the time. The question of whether Nassau as a city, people keep saying New Providence is too densely populated or overcrowded, and I make the point that Manhattan is about the size of New Providence and has 3 million people on it. The whole question is how you manage the people, and that can give you a quality of life. Things would be cheaper, there'd be greater cultural variety and all the rest of that. But those are issues for civil society to discuss. At the moment, what we're trying to do is to put in place a construct, a legal construct, which works. So no matter how large you expand the society, that construct will be able to deal with whoever comes. And that whoever comes has to register, has to have a permit, has to have a right to be here, and has to evidence that right to be here. And if you don't, then the society ought to have the right to exclude you and the power to do so. And that's what this is all about.
Do you have the capacity in the Department of Immigration to do the kind of things that you are about? We had a conversation with you, I believe, some months ago, and you talked about interdiction and the small number of people who are in a unit to interdict people.
Right.
Let's talk capacity.
Yeah, capacity is an issue. I think the former minister raised this and said this is a reason for stopping it. That's not a reason for stopping it, because there'll always be challenges, and there's never a perfect time to start anything. But I'm satisfied that the government's commitment to providing the resources, because we not only have the Immigration Department, you've got the support of the Royal Bahamas Defense Force and the police force, and they augment what we do. So I don't think that that's an issue. And hopefully all of those agencies will be involved when that comes around. What there is, of course, is a need to make a decision, not only on the increase in manpower, because I'd like to triple the size of the Immigration Department, which is now about 300 people, up to about 900 over the next 3 years. So we're trying to price that out now and see what the implications of that are and whether that is sufficient for our mission going forward. But there's also a need for equipment. The next generation of border management equipment has to be ordered, and we have to do that fairly quickly because things are at quite a critical stage. And that will resolve a number of problems. You as an employer, for example, if you brought someone in as a worker and you paid for the work permit today, it's 6 weeks before you can actually get the work permit because of equipment and manpower issues. That shouldn't be. Singapore, for example, can give it to you in 48 hours. So that's the kind of turnaround that you're competing with.
So there is incapacity in the Department.
No question. It's resource stretched. There's no question. But that's not a reason to stop. That's not a reason to stop. If you wait on that, because you'll never have all the resources you need, what you have to do is you have to use skillful management to accomplish the aim. Because you just can't sit back and say, oh, well, we can't do anything about it, let the people just come, so on and so forth. Soon we won't have a home. And that's the fear. That's the thing I describe as the nation's fear about its cultural identity. Yeah. People want to be able to be sure that there's a proper superintendence upon that, on that issue, and that as we go forward, we are managing the changes that occur.
Let's talk about when people are interdicted. The attorney, Mr. Smith, says that if you are going to deport someone, that person should be charged before a court, that you cannot throw a wide net and collect people, detain them without bringing some charge against them. How well-founded is that, or ill-founded?
I'll leave the law to Mr. Smith. I mean, he seems to be an expert on it, but everything that we've done is in conformity with the law. We act on advice. The Attorney General's office gives the advice on what the law is. I've canvassed this matter with our legal advisors, and there's no issue of law which arises here. And if he believes there's an issue of law, he knows what to do.
But isn't it true that certain people, certain nationalities are taken before the courts and they're charged with illegal entry?
Sometimes people are taken to court for working illegally or working outside their permit. That's an executive decision as to when or if to take a charge. But in most cases, what you're dealing with is voluntary repatriation. Oh, I never say deportation, because deportation is something which is specific in law that requires an order, so on and so forth. People voluntarily repatriate.
So these people are not being deported.
No, they're not being deported.
But aren't some of them being repatriated against their will?
Not that I know of. No. No.
All of the Haitian nationals go back because they want to go back?
No. That isn't a question of whether they want to go back. That isn't what voluntariness means. That isn't what voluntariness means.
What do you mean by voluntary?
Well, voluntariness may mean that you don't object. You don't want to go back. That's a different issue.
But I would assume that quite a number of them do not want to go back.
So if they object to going back, there are legal mechanisms for dealing with that. But, you know, this is, people are repatriated, not deported.
Yeah. All right. Minister, let's move beyond that. And let's talk about how we are policing ourselves on the in the southeastern islands around the Great Bahama Banks, places such. Because we still have Haitian vessels coming down the chain, and sometimes they are found at South Beach or in the exhumers. They almost get here sometimes. I remember there was a case where a vessel was found at Prince George.
Yeah, I don't think any of that's happened since we announced this policy. I think the last incident was Christmas Day. And I don't think we've had any incidents since then. And
that's not too far, you know.
But given the times, you know, we're just watching it. We're not patting ourselves on the back on it. But I think a couple of things have worked. First, the weather's been bad. So, secondly, the Americans have quashed the rumors that there's going to be a change in immigration policy. So that's psychologically stopped the driving force from the South, because they know they can't get any special attention in the States. Thirdly, the Defense Force is doing a better job in the center of the country. So those factors, and then fourthly, our own policies, which have sent a psychological signal out to people, you're not welcome here. So we think that that's working. But as I say, you're not patting ourselves on the back. You know, perhaps it's mainly just the weather, because the weather's been pretty bad, so it's not a good idea to be traveling in the weather. So you have to see when the seas are flat whether people start to do it again. Because I think the Americans were saying, I didn't do a comparison with the numbers, but the Americans are saying their numbers are down by 50%.
50%?
Yeah.
Are they giving any assistance, logistics, and anything else to the Bahamian government in this?
The Comprehensive Maritime Agreement, which also governs the way OPBAT and other Coast Guard exercises inside the country takes place, includes migration as one of the issues.
Okay.
Yeah.
What about any cooperation from the Haitian government, the Haitian authorities? There's a view that Haiti is a failed state, and there's some consternation politically in that country now.
I'm not going to go that far. I think that they have signed agreements with us and committed to working with trying to stop it. But we, for example, I think it was November the 22nd last year, there was an article which appeared in the Miami Herald where one of its writers went to the island of the Turtle, which is in North Haiti. And in the interview they said that well, there's nothing happening here. Place is desperately poor. We can't stay here, so we're getting on boats and going to the Bahamas and then to the States. So we immediately sent a flag to the Haitian government and said, look, this is what we see, as boldly as in the Miami Herald. So they went and checked it, and their ambassador to OAS responded. When he responded to me at the OAS, said, well, they checked this out and they could find no evidence of any boats or any preparation, so on and so forth. Christmas Day comes along, they interdict the boat off Barracuda, off Barratari, Barracuda Rock, and when they interviewed the 119 people, all of them came from La Tortue. So, of course, certain people in the government start saying, well, what's going on here? And you need to, make the point forcefully that Haiti should not be seen to be exporting people for remittances, because that's the fear that many people have is going on. I think the Haitian government in all its official utterances has said they deplore this. They are committed to public statements in Haiti to tell people not to make the journeys, and so I think we take them at their word.
Have they been doing it, do you think?
They plead resources, but the United States, which has intelligence agents throughout the north of Haiti, they've been assisting in trying to help with that issue as well.
You've been accused by some people of being a little harsh, as we said earlier on, and that the public relations of this thing leaves much to be desired. That you ought to be working with the church, for instance, in communicating to the Haitian people. The Roman Catholic Church is very strong here. Well, many of them attend the Roman Catholic Church and other churches in the Bahamas. Have you been working with pastors and priests at all?
I met with a group of the civil society leaders, including pastors. But look, I've taken this position. Immigration is a blunt instrument. You know, no apology for that. It's a tough law enforcement job. It's not a job for, wavering and nuances and all the rest of it. When you unleash immigration, that's what you do. Enforcement is tough. And particularly given the job they have to do, it's going to remain tough for a while until the back of this is broken. So my position has been consistent with that view, that I don't want to be sitting down with various constituent groups sort of, negotiating this and negotiating that and bargaining this and bargaining that. My view is publicly I must stick to the generality of the position that the law has to be enforced, and that's it. I'm not deviating from that. Now what I said is, you have the Prime Minister, you have the Deputy Prime Minister. Both of those gentlemen, who are our bosses, the Chair and Deputy Chair of the Immigration Board, have an open door policy with regard to that. And those constituent groups are free to meet with those gentlemen, the Prime Minister and the Deputy Prime Minister. And they have met with them. And any issues which arise in those meetings have been passed on to the department. And we are a creature of instructions in that regard. So I don't think that anybody's interest is badly served by that. But I think once we get through most of this, then I'd be happy to meet with constituent groups.
But you will appreciate that there's a tremendous amount of human suffering in Haiti. They've not gotten over the earthquake even of some years ago. And they are in a precarious state. Minister. And so there are some Bahamians who would say, well, let's be a little more humane and offer some humanitarian assistance and show some deference or some compassion to the level of human suffering taking place.
But there are thousands of people from that country who are here working legitimately, and there's no issue, and have been assimilated into the country and go back decades. So I don't really see that as an issue. As I said, you can't, well, my thinking is that obviously you have to fight against things like prejudice. Mm-hmm. I've tried to speak in terms of in generic terms when we talk about this policy. This is not targeted at any specific national group. So, people are told to be careful about their public utterances on this. Secondly, I think that what is probably important is the development of a proper public affairs unit for the Department of Immigration to take because everything now comes the minister. So, I become the ogre or the person who's, responsible for this or that, and it becomes very personalized. I mean, that's part of the campaign of the Smiths and so on, is to make it a kind of Fred Mitchell policy, which it isn't. It's a policy of the government. So I think many of the nuances and explanations, if they came from someone who is a public official rather than a political official, I think some of that would dissipate as well.
Well, all you need to do is step back and allow, say, the director of immigration or somebody such to have carriage of the public relations here. You seem to be doing the public relations yourself.
I suppose that's one way, but once my name is in it, I ain't gonna step back from it. I'm gonna meet you head on, no question. I mean, I told the Prime Minister, that part of the thing in this present milieu, given the way news cycles go and all the rest of it, is that you can't leave any space because there's so much nonsense to fill the space if you don't fill it. So that's why I take the position, as soon as you say something which is adverse, I'm gonna answer it.
Mm-hmm.
That's it.
Mm-hmm.
Until we fix the other problems. But I can't wait to fix the problem. Meanwhile, they're trying to trash my reputation, and it's very serious, because we've seen. You just saw mm-hmm. the leader of the opposition get up in the House of Assembly, trotting out the U.S. Human Rights Report. Mm-hmm. Human Rights Report is based on anecdotal evidence. So you have these crazies getting up in the press in the Bahamas, spouting off all kinds of nonsense about public officials and what they do, and then that gets picked up in somebody's human rights report and suddenly becomes, the thing which defines the Bahamas or defines that individual, to some pretty disastrous consequences. We've seen, for example, down in St. Lucia, Commissioner of Police in St. Lucia can't travel to the United States because they say he's involved in some human rights abuses. So I think people have to be very careful about what they say about individuals, and I'm not going, as I say, I'm not going to leave the space unfilled. You will at least have my answer, and I'm not going to be genteel with the answer either if you make slanderous statements against me. This is not a nice business. That's the issue. This is not a nice business. This is a tough business, and I said at the start to my colleagues, look, we have to steel ourselves until we get through this. But I assure you that once we've broken the back of it, it'll be fine.
You have a representative in Miami, I think it is, can't remember her name right now, who is...
Ricardo Trico is the Consul General.
No, I'm talking about the Haitian state representative.
Oh, yes.
Who has been making some incendiary remarks about yourself and the government of the Bahamas. Is there a public relations effort in Florida itself dealing with that?
Well, I have a different view there. We don't have the resources to have a full public relations effort in Florida. So our view is rather more limited. If the press in Florida, the press of record, makes some statement which is inaccurate, then we will respond to it by a statement from our ministry. In fact, we just answered the New York Times and caused them to have to make a correction to something which they printed erroneously. And even though it was quite a schmarmy correction, the fact is the whole story collapsed once they conceded that inaccuracy. So that's the kind of thing we do. But what is important, I think, is for the Bahamian community in Florida. We speak to them and we make sure that they are armed with the information, because that's our surest defense, is the Bahamian diaspora. And I've gone and spoken to them myself. The Consul General is in touch with them from time to time, and information is spread. That is why we're also working on the whole question of the public diplomacy connected with this, so that stuff is in the public domain.
Yeah. Just to reiterate before we go to this break, if I'm a non-Bahamian and I have a child who's 10 years old, and I refuse to register the child, you say that the child will be allowed in our schools.
No, I didn't say that.
You didn't say that.
No.
But let me put it to you then. If the child is not registered, the child is presented to a school, and I say to the school, well, I haven't registered this child, I'm not going to do it. Is the child going to be allowed to...
that's a question for the school.
To enter?
That's a question for the school, not for me.
If I say I'm a poor person, I don't have the money to pay $125 because I have 5 children in the Bahamas, and 5 children, it's going to cost me, what, 700 plus? I do not have that money.
That's a question for the schools. And
but the children will be allowed entry based on what you are saying.
No, I can't answer that. I'm saying.
But you say that no child is denied.
No, that's what the Director of Education said. And I keep saying I don't want to venture into their business. That's their business, who gets into the schools. I'm just saying that the immigration law requires everyone here to have a permit to reside.
Right.
And if you don't have a permit to reside, man, woman, or child, you're subject to repatriation to your home country. That's the rule.
Yes, but you cannot repatriate a child.
Not without his parents.
But not without the parents. And if the parents are here legally, they have work permits to be here, or they are permanent residents here, but the parents refuse to register.
They do. That's an offense in law, so they can be prosecuted for doing that.
For not registering the child?
Yes, because they have a child here without a permit.
Okay, so if children are here without permits, then parents can be charged before our courts.
Yes, right. They have to do that.
And the government is minded to do that?
No,
or the
I'm not speaking to that. I'm saying the law allows that possibility, but that's the responsibility of the child, of the parent, is to have the child registered.
Okay. Let's take a final
Right.
break here on the program. We'll come right back.